Hey, how you doing?
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I have a question. It's your new film, Subservience. It centers around a family and an AI bot. Um, that scares me. I worry about that. Do you worry about what might happen when that comes to pass?
Yeah, it's something that especially as we were, in post-production, we had these not necessarily from like a robotic physical level, but just the idea of AI as we were in post-production and having these strikes happen in our film industry about, our protecting us from AI taking our jobs. It really became like it really resonated with us as we're editing, a film about people that are losing their jobs to AI. And it's definitely scary. I think I never expected creativity to be a threat from AI. I really felt like that was a human element that couldn't be replicated. And then now you have ChatGPT coming along and creating these things, and it is scary. I do think it will force our film industry to be more creative and have to try something more unique. And I'm really hoping it kind of breaks through those kind of cookie cutter style films, and humans prevail. That's my hope. That's the utopia I see. But there is probably a dystopian version of this where it doesn't go too well.
Right, right. That's what I worry about is, the physical harm. And I know there had to be challenges when it came to making the film and having a star who is playing a bot. Can you tell us about those challenges?
Yeah, I think out of every element in the script, the one that felt the most vital was finding the right performance from Megan, and one that kind of actually dictates every other robot, sim that we're seeing throughout the film as well. But for me, the challenge was really this fine line between being robotic and having enough emotion to kind of pull off these intimate scenes later on and not feel comical or not things not falling apart. So when she came on set, she really had this strong idea of being a ballerina, and her performance being slow but precise, and creating this really unique performance that would continuously remind you every now and then, like, oh, she's a robot. That's right, she's a robot. And even just kind of saying to her during, let's do that take again, but try not to blink as much as possible. Creating this inhuman aspect to it that I think that was fun. It was exciting. It was one of those things where it was like this could either make it work or it could crumble. But that to me excites me as a filmmaker is those challenges.
I think it worked really well actually.
Mm.
And the whole thing was kind of unnerving and uncanny and just creepy.
Yeah.
Because in the back of your head, you're thinking, wait, hold on a second, and then she just turns evil on you, and that's just, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there was kind of this element here, especially with Megan, where I felt like there were certain elements that reminded me of Jennifer's Body when we were kind of uh designing this film. And that's where I was starting to think about her a lot. And I was kind of, I wanted to see that badass Megan Fox kind of again on screen, and one that's gonna kind of wreak havoc and do some ungodly things.
Well, this isn't your first time working with her, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, my first feature, Till Death, I worked with her, and what excited me about working with her again was that they're two completely different roles. One's very emotional, and one is kind of trying to pull back on that. So it felt like a new challenge, and it was a very similar team that we had from the first film. So coming into that, I think that trust, having done a film already, really helps. Particularly with the intimate scenes, you need to create an environment where everyone is trusting and everyone is feeling safe, and I think having that film already under our belt helped create an environment like that.
And I really like the Casablanca effect that just kind of makes everything go crazy.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
I do think of that sequence as, that's the kind of the stitch that unravels everything. And it was such a fun scene to shoot. I think getting her right up to that screen and having it play in her, Casablanca play in Megan Fox's eyes. That was, I remember our cinematographer, Daniel Lindfeld, talking about how it was uh, history just there playing in Megan Fox's eye with the Casablanca. And yeah, it was an exciting moment.
All right. And was there a challenge dealing with the fact that there were kids involved?
Definitely. I think, the biggest challenge is really because, in terms of the content of the script and everything, it's very adult themed and all this kind of stuff. But you don't, the good thing about, getting performances from those children and everything is that you can be vague and you can say there's something scary behind that door and you can kind of play with their imagination in that way. Um, the biggest challenge for me is really just scheduling. You need to, you can't allow, when you're getting into night shoots, they can only shoot for a couple hours up until like 8 p.m. So that kind of stuff is very like, well, if that's the case, then we need to build the house on a stage where we can create nighttime during the day and not completely mess with their sleep. And but it was, I know people say don't work with children and animals and water, but they were amazing to work with. I think one of my favorite shots that we got was getting little baby Jude to be asleep while Megan's kind of feeling for the heartbeat. And that was like watching Salome, his mother, kind of take him out of the basket and put him into the cot and not wake him up, and all the cameras are around and all the crew are dead silent. It was like watching someone disarm a bomb. It was the most intense moment of the shoot, and we got the shot. And as soon as I called cut, he woke up and he was wide awake, watching it, seeing a camera and lights in his face. So those moments there are special to me.
Right. What did it take to get all of the CGI? Because there's not that much of it in film, unless I missed it.
No, I definitely wanted to approach it as practical as possible. And so even, certain damages she has on her face and everything, a lot of that is prosthetic. And then we kind of delve in there a little bit deeper with CGI. But yeah, I definitely think, coming into this, being a small film, I wanted it to, feel as practical, feel as grounded and real as possible. So we try to use that as least as possible, but also, if we are using it in certain ways, like keeping it in the shadows, keeping it onto the other side of the face, not sticking it in the audience's face. I think that's the best way to approach CGI. But it was, something, particularly with her damage as well. Like I kept saying to the artists, we needed to make it feel hollow. Thematically, that's what we're going with this character, is that she's not human. She's hollow. There's something missing here, and I really wanted to create that depth within there, but allow something there. So when her head's moving, we wanted it to see a little bit more depth in there with that, and that was fun. That was as a sci-fi lover, that was the most exciting thing to kind of play with.
Okay, I have to ask. With the way it ended, is there a sequel brewing somewhere at some point?
Uh, it's there was definitely discussions about why we were shooting, but I never really approached it as a an element setting up a sequel. For me, it was more about expanding upon the fact that this husband who's messed up and he's wanting to redeem himself, but he hasn't quite redeemed himself in my mind by the end. So it was kind of playing that card of saying there's more to come. He wants to redeem himself, but also there's more to come with Alice is still out there and what could happen and everything like that. So playing on those two elements, it didn't. I wasn't really necessarily going for a Marvel post credit sequence. Although there could be an Avengers up ahead with this. We'll get a few more robots coming in. But no, it was definitely more just, I definitely love the idea of how this concludes in that way and keeping it open-ended. But there are also other elements I would love to explore within AI and the how Alice would evolve as she becomes more self-aware. That would be exciting.
I'd watch it. So, but that's great. So what are you most excited about when it comes to the release?
Really, just I when you're making a film, I think as a director, you can't think about what is everyone going to think about this while you're making these decisions. Because if you start thinking about that, you'll never make a decision. So you really are approaching this as, what's the movie I want to see? That's the best way I think to approach it as a director. And then you get to a certain point where you're like, when you finish the film and you're like, okay, now everyone else has to make their judgments if I made the right call on their behalf. And I'm kind of excited to see what people think of this. But yeah, I think ultimately it's just like, it's a relief. I do this thing where when I finish a film, I tend not to watch it. Like I'm done. It's kind of the irony of making a film for myself is that when I finish it, I don't want to watch it anymore because I see every little mistake along the way. And so no, I'm kind of interested to watch it with an audience though, just once. It would be horrifying to be in there the whole time while you have a full cinema watching this. But we do have a plan, next week to kind of have a friends and family screening. So I'm actually really excited to see what they think and just sit in the corner and watch them while they watch the film. I won't watch the screen. I'll just be eating my popcorn, watching everyone.
Right, right. I get it. But I think it's a good story. The cast was phenomenal. I think it's a good movie.
Thank
I
you.
think
No, I
people will think so
appreciate that.
too.
Thank you. Let's hope so. There was a lot of love and a lot of effort that was put into it by our team and everyone. And I'm really excited from the sound design, score, and the music that we have in there, the visual effects and the action and all that. Just everyone that really try to put their all into this. So I'm excited for everyone to finally see it.
Right, right. Like I said, I think they're gonna like it. And we'll definitely be talking to our subscribers and followers and see what they think. But we'll put in
Amazing.
a good word for it. So
Thank you. I appreciate
you're
that.
very welcome. And I thank you for taking the time to talk with me.